He said he'd be right. Poof.
Okay.
There he is.
So I see we have a couple of new people. There's Jessica and Christina. How are you? Good. Okay, times 6:01. We'll just give another minute or two to see if anybody else pops up because a few more people said they'd join in on the meeting. Ms. Greco, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. How's summer going?
It's
Yeah, yeah.
going. It's interesting.
Yeah. Yes, I bet. I bet.
The summer of 2020.
It is changing daily.
Let loose the zombies. Release the Kraken.
I feel like it's one of those years where most people want summer to end. Like they just want vacation to almost be over with in some way and not in other ways.
Yeah.
All right. So what I'm going to do for the meeting is I'll just have everybody on mute. I do have questions that some people have submitted. So if you guys have any questions while I'm talking, you can always throw them into the chat, and then I will mention them as they pop up. All right. And at some point, Master Waldron may chime in, so I'll leave him unmuted. All right. But this way, at least we can see everybody that's on here. So.
And if someone has a question, what do they do, Master Fusco?
So somebody wasn't being a first-time listener. So they can put
Did I miss that part?
Yes, sir. I just said they can actually just type it into the chat.
Oh. Okay.
It'll pop up, and I will be able to just read them out.
Okay.
All right. We have another person that just joined in. All right. So thank you all for joining us. It's a little bit strange still doing this via Zoom, but I think we're all kind of used to it at this point. So quick rundown, or a quick couple of things. First of all, we have information from South Windsor schools. We don't have a finalized plan from Vernon or Manchester or St. James schools. Or I also have information from Odyssey schools. So there may be some gaps in some of our plans right now, simply because we don't have all the data. All right. So if there's a question that we don't have a concrete answer to, I promise I will get back to you all on that answer. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So let's just start off with some of the simple questions that came up. So one of the first ones was the cost. All right. The cost this year is now going to be $95 per week. Okay. That is going to be our flat rate for the program. All right. In the past, we've done different tuitions for the different number of days, but it's a very different school year. So this year it's going to be $95 per week. That's to cover all the operating expenses that we have to do. Children per class. So that is going to vary. As I'm sure you're aware, most schools are going to have the hybrid program where kids will be in school 2 days, out of school for 3 days. As of right now, the only ones I know of for sure is South Windsor has every Wednesday will be distance learning for everybody. And then the Odyssey schools actually every Friday will be distance learning for everybody. So already right there, it's going to be a little bit different operating. So it will depend on where each kid falls into their particular cohort in school and which days their hybrid take place. So if the other schools decide to do a Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday, for example, that will change the dynamic. I will say as of right now, we have 20 people that are planning on enrolling for the fall. All right. So that does not mean all 20 would be in on any given day. All right. I did post a picture up on Facebook, but just in case you're wondering, our room would normally fit up to between 80 and 90 kids, but even with social distancing, 6 feet apart, all facing one direction, we can fit well over 20 people, probably closer to 30 people, because we're actually adding in another table or two, and we're taking away the rug in the seating area. I'm going to turn this around for a minute so you guys can see. All right, so as you can see, all the tables, chairs, again, if you space them all 6 feet apart, we can fit in at least 20, and that is going to be gone. The rug and the reading chairs, and we'll be able to fit an additional table over there. So we definitely have the space to accommodate all the students that have signed up. All right. Let's talk about the state. Master Waldron, you have a question?
No, I just want to add to that. We also have a lot of space in the school in addition to the after school program room. We haven't really we haven't made a decision about this, but we have been talking around 20 being approximately our max. Again, depending on cohorts and schools and days off and days on and things like that. But we're also going to be using what's known as the bistro area. And then there's also some extra space out in the main floor that we will possibly be setting up tables at and things like that, so that we're able to keep various groups even more segregated outside of the academics room. So, we'll do whatever's necessary, but we have space beyond the academics room.
Okay. Hours of the program. So typically it's from the time this school ends and we pick up the kids until about 5 o'clock. Okay. That's generally our window. If students getting out early, for example, I know South Windsor is going to be getting out 90 minutes early every day for September, potentially October as well. Then we'd shift our hours up. And so we'd also pick them up early from school. That includes moving forward, half days, early dismissals due to weather and so on. We do ask, in the past, we've had kids go into class at 5 o'clock. We are thinking about changing that and having a separate martial arts program just for the after school students a little bit earlier in the day. So they don't have to, so they kind of, again, keeping their cohorts, they have their own martial arts class earlier. And this way you would actually be able to pick them up around 5 o'clock instead of them having to stay until 6 or 7 in some days. Okay. Is transportation provided by the academy? Yes. All right, we do. We go pick up at the schools, and we have worked with the schools in the past many times, and we're actually able to go in where the buses do the pickup. So the kids are actually brought out by the teachers right to our vehicle. So it's a nice little setup. So there's no having to worry about any of that. Okay. The big question, two big questions. Number one, safety protocols, and then the other one would be the hybrid schedule. So let me talk about the safety protocols, because those we've already been doing with our classes, and we have them all in place. So number one, of course, masks. Staff and students will be wearing their masks. All right, they'll wear the masks on the vehicles here. They're gonna wear the masks when they come in. The only time they will not be wearing the mask is when they're eating their snack. Okay, that's it. Again, as I mentioned, we're not gonna have the kids sitting opposite from each other on the tables. They'll be sitting 6 feet apart. The only exception to that would be siblings. Okay, like Dominic and Nicholas, right? We can have them sitting next to each other.
That's not going to go well.
We can duct tape them together. So,
All right.
but that will not only allow us, save on space, but again, it just makes it easier in terms of keeping the cohorts together. We are in our hallways, in the main hallway, we already have 6-foot markers in place. We will do the same thing in the entrance, the front entrance where our after school students get brought. And we will also do the same thing on the tables. I'll actually mark on the tables where the chairs belong. So this way there's no moving the seats around. Okay. Again, students are going to be grouped based on school. So when they come here together, they will be sitting in a section of the room. So in the past, we've let students sit wherever they wanted to. So kids would mix from other schools and what have you. We're going to try to keep them all together, trying to avoid having too many variables thrown into that mix. As I mentioned, we're going to have the extra furniture, like the chairs and the rug, pulled out, which is unfortunate because the kids love to sit there and do their reading. It is what it is. We do have hand sanitizer all over the school. All right. So what we've always done in the past is we've encouraged the kids to wash their hands with soap and water when they first come here. But throughout the day, after they're done eating, for example, or doing homework or what have you, we have hand sanitizers around the school, 3 of them. We have bottles of hand sanitizers in here, all over the school for the kids to use. All right. Our water fountain is currently shut off. We do have the water dispenser for the bottle that is also off. And so for now, we would say all the children should bring their water bottles, a full water bottle from home, maybe a spare one in their bag or a juice box or something like that with their snacks. All right, because we won't be using any of the water fountains at all. As far as bathrooms go, again, the kids are encouraged to use their bathrooms, but we're going to limit the bathroom trips so they go one at a time to the bathroom. We're not sending multiple kids out to the bathroom. We will be sanitizing, all right, disinfecting all the common touch surfaces. So the tables and chairs will be sanitized before the kids get there. They'll be sanitized after the kids leave, especially if another group has to come in. That also includes door handles. All right, we will be doing that probably on a regular basis every hour or a couple hours throughout the day to do that. As I mentioned, all the students are going to be required to bring their own snacks as in the past. The only thing I ask this time is, again, nothing that would be requiring us to help them with the food, all right, or microwaving or things like that, trying to minimize contact with other students' stuff. And then, as with everything else, we are going to do temperature checks every time the kids come in, all right? I know that schools are going to be doing that as well. You'll do that at home before they get on the bus. We will do that before they actually come or as they come into the building. If they are below 100.4, they're fine, they can come in. If the child has 100.4 temperature, all right, we're going to actually move them off to the side. I will probably put them into a separate area, most likely my office or something like that. And I will call the parents right away, ask you to come pick up your child right away. All right. That's just pretty much the standard procedure that we've been following for our martial arts school, and the schools are going to be following as best as I can tell from everything I've read. All right. That is pretty much in a nutshell the safety procedures. Does anybody have any questions?
Excuse me, there is a message for you.
Mr. Waldron, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I don't think so. No, you covered it. Very good.
Okay. Hybrid schedule. That's sort of the big question that's hanging over everything. So as I mentioned, it's, we don't have all the data yet. Okay. We're still waiting on Vernon, still waiting on Manchester, still waiting on St. James. So I would love to be able to say yes or no. I'd love to be able to give you a concrete answer, but without all the data, we don't have that. I will say we have been floating the idea. We've been discussing it as a possibility.
Oh, wait a sec. When you're saying hybrid schedule, oh, you're talking about the distance learning part.
Right. So
I'm sorry.
So the days the kids are not in school, they're distance learning, basically, would we be able to have them come here? Would we have that option available for them to come to our facility to do their distance learning, to do their homework and so on?
Right.
Okay. So there's a few things. Again, number one is the school schedule. I'm guessing the other schools will be the same as South Windsor. We don't know for sure. So until we know that, we can't even make a decision one way or the other. Another issue is licensing through the state. Okay, there's a whole nother level now. If we're going to be doing schooling all day long, there's another layer there, which includes going through the state, potentially having to get licensed for that, and that changes things a little bit.
Okay.
Hi, Agnieszka, how are you?
Hi, Agnieszka.
Hi. How are you?
Good. Thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So yes, so we are looking into it. We are discussing it. It's not off the table, but it's not set in stone right now because we just don't have all the data. All right. Obviously, the other piece of that would be the cost. Okay. And looking around at some other programs that offer this, I know of one that they charge upwards of $400 a week. All right. To have them all day. So we are floating some prices around. We are, just for transparency, we are looking, as I said, $95 for the after school program. But if you're going to add in the distance learning, because that's staffing all day long, 5 days a week, we're looking at in the range of 250 to 300 per week. Okay. For complete transparency. That is again because, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I mean, because we have to staff the program for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, based on the hybrid program. That's what we're looking at right now. Okay. By next week, I believe, as I checked in with Mrs. Greco. By early next week, we should have concrete plans from both Manchester and Vernon. And that should allow us to determine if A, a hybrid schedule is feasible, and B, if it makes sense. So, with a show of hands, how many of you are, or if your camera is off, then you can also just throw a message into the chat. How many of you are interested in or would like to have the option of utilizing the hybrid program, the distance learning where the kids come here all day on the days that they're home?
The day program.
Right. Okay.
1, 2.
All right. Okay. I got a thumbs up from somebody with their camera off. Good. All right. Christina, did you have any questions at all? I know you're sort of, I mean, the other ones have been in the other program. You're sort of like, you and Jessica are very new to this. So if you have any questions at all.
Actually, my sister-in-law and my brother referred me. So you have my nieces, and then I know Sarah. So
You know Sarah Cardile?
I do.
I'm sorry. Oh, no, I mean, that's wonderful.
Yes, for many, many years. So I am thankfully very familiar with your program, and I've gotten to go and attend.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Good. And again, Jessica, I know, again, this is kind of new for you, but again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them out loud or throw them into the chat. All right.
And you all could, obviously if questions come up after this meeting, certainly feel free to email the school. It's office@theacademy.us.
Right. Okay. Those are pretty much all of the questions that came up in the spreadsheet. All right. And so with that being said, does anybody else have any concerns?
Let me just toss, there's my cat. Let me just toss in real quick about the martial art piece of this, about, martial arts is an integral part of what we do, and part of this program. We've been teaching martial arts during, this pandemic phase. And what we're doing is we're modifying the classes so that we keep them pretty much socially distant. They wear masks during the program. We have to modify what we're teaching because we can't do any contact stuff, and we have to be careful what equipment we use and stuff, but we're actually working on ways to be able to use more equipment and have it be safe, things like that. So, the martial arts is still going to be part of the program, and we think we've got a very good handle on, because we've been doing it how long, Master Fusco? We've been a couple of months?
We've been doing the in-person stuff since June.
Okay.
Just since June 17th, when we were able to reopen by the state.
Oh, okay. All right. So, we'll continue, requiring the martial arts as part of the program. It will necessarily change a little bit, but we'll still be able to get the character development parts of the program in strength building, muscle building, all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah. And of course, as we've always done, we will always still be able to help the kids out with their homework. That won't change. The kids are still I think the kids might struggle a little bit more with the homework, especially if they have a lot of it that they're going to be doing online and such, but we will do the best we can with the limitations that we have, so we aren't going to be able to sit right next to them to work on the homework with them or to help them out like we've been able to do in the past, but there are ways around that we can help them out. And especially if a few of them have the same homework, we can actually maybe kind of group them, and work on it all together, almost like a little mini lesson with
right.
them. So even as we get into the program, we're going to be finding that we have to modify a little bit on how we work with all the students and on their work. but nothing that we haven't had to worry about before, nothing that's going to be impossible. So, like I said, those were pretty much the big topics. Those were all the questions that popped up, the concerns that popped up. So,
Did you have something, Miss Greco?
No, not,
Oh.
not as of now.
Oh, I thought I saw your hand go up.
no,
No,
she's going to
not
send us a lengthy email much later.
Yes, she will.
I have been checking. Nothing has come out yet, so I will let you know
All right.
once I have everything.
Yeah, I know. I was checking today too. Every day I've been checking the public school websites to see if they come out with a plan yet. Yeah, I know. I was just also looking at Hartford, and same thing. They still don't have anything concrete in place. So, but I do know that all the schools have pushed out their start dates to September 8th or 9th, depending on the letters. I believe so.
So-
pushing it out to
Now, wait, just an update for a clarification. Vernon has not changed their start date on that.
Oh, they have not?
No.
Oh, I thought I read that they did as well.
What's their
No.
start date?
Okay.
Our start date is August 26th.
All right. So again, we'll wait until we get the finalized plan, but
So, we didn't talk about this actually. We have talked about this, but we didn't talk about it in prep for this meeting. But I think it's important that we actually discuss this with everybody. So, what happens if somebody comes down with COVID? That's been going to the after-school program.
right. My understanding is, just as we would have had to do with our martial arts classes, and most likely what the schools would do, is we notify everybody that it was in that cohort on that same day. We let all of them know, particular, not who it was, but obviously a student tested positive for COVID. They will be, it'll be 2 weeks before they come back. And then at that point, you have to closely monitor each of the kids. And I don't remember, I had to double check, because I don't remember seeing this precisely. The wording was kind of vague. If the schools would then require those kids from the cohort to stay home as well for 2 weeks, or if they let them come in as long as they clear. Yeah, you have to stay home for 2 weeks, right?
You have to be
Okay.
home for 2 weeks with that cohort.
Right. Okay, that's what I remember reading way back during the phase 2 reopening for our school.
Yeah, that's what Daytona School's doing too at Two Rivers. They have stay in their home rooms, and that if somebody tests positive, they have to stay. They have to leave. They can't come back.
Yeah, that's part of the reason they're doing the cohorts, is to minimize, and that's why each kid's classroom is going to be very limited number of kids, and then so that's why they're also not transferring classes, and they're not, everything is going to be all contained in that classroom, so that if one child in that room does come down with COVID, then all of those kids, however many they have in that classroom, are going to have to self-quarantine. So it's more, it's more than likely going to have to be the same thing, our same procedure for us.
And that's what we have set up for our martial art classes now.
Exactly.
So we would just continue to follow that protocol.
Yes. Go ahead. Agnieszka, you have a question? Let me unmute. Hold on 1 second. Unmute yourself. Okay.
Nope, she's not unmuted.
Hold on. You're still,
Okay.
there you go.
So if you were exposed, if you got tested and you had no symptoms, you still have to quarantine for 2 weeks?
I think that's what the documentation is saying from the schools. Yeah. That if you were exposed and you're not showing any symptoms, but you were exposed, you're going to need to self-quarantine, then utilize the distance learning.
I wish they did that for healthcare workers.
I know. I
No,
know.
no.
Well,
Go back to work.
that's the discussion going around, right? Same thing for teachers too. And then
I know.
teachers have to worry about that as well, and so on.
Yeah, I wish it would all be rather consistent across the board for everybody
Well, I
that's
just don't
involved.
understand the point of the testing. Like, we have all these test centers and there's all this testing available, and they're still making it so difficult for people to, rule that out.
I know.
That's the only problem I have with, not this, but just in general.
No, I know.
That's-
Just in general. Yeah, I
Never
know.
mind.
And the other
Throw my 2 cents in.
yeah, well, the other problem with the test is, when I come back from Tennessee, I have to quarantine for 14 days. I have a COVID test set up for the day after, the day after I come back. But I won't get those results for, 5, 8 days.
Yeah, it
maybe.
still beats 14.
What's that? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Still
yeah,
beats 14, but, there's this
Right.
incredible lag. So no matter what, there's going to be some amount of quarantining happening.
Yeah.
Tina, did
Yeah.
you have a question or were you just adjusting? Okay. All right. Okay. So,
So this is Marissa and Greg, Miss.
Hi.
I just wanted to say, one, that you all do an amazing job, and we're not concerned about, you following the procedures or keeping people safe or anything, because we know you guys do a great job, and we appreciate everything you've done with Xavier thus far. So, for us, we're just really in a predicament here with the fact that Odyssey has a plan that is pretty much at odds with the rest of our plans in terms of my husband going back to work 5 days and me being with the children at home 3 days, trying to manage everything they need while I am also working full time.
Oh my goodness.
And trying to figure out how I'm going to, provide for all of their needs for 2 people, and one who can't even read her own instructions because she's a kindergartner.
Yeah.
So anything you guys can provide as far as some hours that they can get some structure, some help, some other person who can read instructions to my kindergartner would be amazing.
okay.
And we keep going back and forth on the day program for the distance learning. And I feel like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place because I really feel for the parents that have to go to work. And, I want to be able to help the kids and all of that. But I'm also sensitive to, the whole day program thing is a whole nother ball of wax, and it's going to take. Master Fusco, the one thing I want to, you had said 250 to 300. We were talking 250 to 350, because places out there were, like 400 a week.
400, yeah.
Yeah, and we definitely don't want to gouge people, but there's a whole lot of new costs associated with dealing with this, and and then being all day is a whole nother ball of wax, like I said. So, if anyone has any input after the meeting and wants to talk to us more about the day program, certainly would love to talk about it. It'll really come down to quite possibly how many people want it, how many people will enroll for it, and same thing with the after school. Oh, this is something else we didn't say. Same thing for the after school program. Just because how do I say this kindly? Just because you've enrolled in the program doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to be able to take you. The transportation is a challenge, and if your child is a one-off somewhere and we can't get a route set up or whatever it is. So we're going to pull that together. We're scrambling to pull that together. But again, with the schools not being definitive yet, it's very difficult.
It's hard to plan out a driving route when you don't even know what days each kid is going to be in school.
Yeah. So, we're doing the best that we can, but I want you all to know that just because you've necessarily enrolled does not mean that we're going to actually be able to take you. We'll have that answer is absolutely as fast as humanly possible.
Yeah.
But it's out of our control, some of it anyway.
Yep. Absolutely.
So on that note, no, sorry. That's
No, thanks for bringing that up though, because that was something that I didn't bring up, and it is important to understand for full transparency, because I feel as parents, you need to be able to have all the data as well, so that you guys can make the best decision for yourselves and your kids. All right. Just as much as we need all the data to make make the best decision for us and the kids and the business. So.
Yeah. Well, and having said that, and I probably shouldn't say this live, but you know me, too late. If as far as keeping the kids safe, and keeping us safe, quite frankly, but keeping the kids safe and everything, and keeping you safe. If we had 20 students that enrolled into the after school program, and we had one student from a school somewhere, it's possible that we simply wouldn't take that student simply because not to mix in that school's. They're a cohort one at that point. So we would really have to think hard about, does it make sense to bring in a whole nother school for one student? Right, so these are the kind of things that are rattling around in our heads.
I mean, obviously our concern is for the safety of the kids as a whole, right? Each individual kid, but then all of them as a group. And, it's tough decisions to make sometimes, but again, for everybody's best interest, sometimes we have to make those calls.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? It's about 6:30. I anticipated about half an hour for this.
You're better than I am at this.
I like to keep things short and sweet. You know this.
I think we should go for another hour. Come on, we haven't talked together in a long time.
I'm hungry.
Actually, that's true.
Yeah.
I'm on for making dinner tonight, so.
All right, so you need to go cook. So again, obviously, when I know more, I will definitely reach out to everybody and let you all know what things are shaping up to be. Between now and then, any questions, any concerns, something that pops up that you wish you had thought of, or something you just didn't quite feel comfortable saying in this group setting, you're more than welcome to email me or call the school, and I will get back to you. All right, we can follow up with that.
And also, I mean, this from more of a business standpoint than anything else, I think, even if you wanted to just toss us off an email just to say what you thought of this meeting, the format, was it useful? You don't have to get overly detailed, but was it useful for you? Was it not useful? Or this would have been better, or that'll help us do better in the future if necessary. So
yep.
I'd appreciate that. Oh, Ms. Goldstein?
Okay, yes.
Now, say you did do the day program, does that include the days there at school too?
So that's part of that issue of not knowing what the other schools are doing,
okay.
Right? Because if Manchester and Vernon, again, have a slightly different schedule, so, they may all have Wednesday off,
Mm-hmm.
right? But as I mentioned, you may have one set of kids that go Monday, Thursday.
Savannah goes Monday, Tuesday.
Right. And then of course, depending on where the cohorts fall, you may have all the kids showing up on a Monday, Tuesday, right? And then they all have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off.
Okay.
So that's why that's part of it. That's what we're saying is if we're going to do that, we have to anticipate staffing for the distance learning for 5 days per week.
Okay.
And let me just throw another wrench in, because I don't think you and I have talked about this yet, Master Fusco. Let's say the days we're doing the day program, distance learning, it's a snow day. Do we take them all day? Or are they home?
I think we stay home.
I believe you stay home.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. I just wanted to toss that out there.
No, I think we'd stay home because they'll still learn at home because the teachers
Right.
will just keep teaching instead of taking a snow day.
What it becomes, it also becomes a safety issue
Mhm.
for the parents to have to drive the kids in, come pick them up later, so on, things like that. So
Okay.
I would say just our standard policy of snow day means that we are closed as well.
Right. Agnieszka?
You had a question?
No,
Okay.
I was gonna say that I think the meetings are very useful just to keep the communication open, and things will continuously change. So maybe we could do like a check-in on more scheduled basis.
Sure. I'm okay with that.
Good one.
Yep. And actually probably not a bad idea, especially if all the schools, when we do find out if all the schools have decided to push out to September 8th, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea if in a couple more weeks we do a follow-up one after this.
Yeah, because I think things are gonna just continuously
Yeah, and we will know more based on that. I mean, because
Yeah.
as we have seen with another 3+ weeks to go, the state could change again.
Again and again and again.
Exactly.
So
Well, and another piece of data that I hope the states are feeding in, like I'm in Tennessee and these kids are already back to school.
Mhm.
And Georgia, these kids are already back to school and they should be learning from those situations.
Right.
So hopefully that, that new knowledge will affect some of the decisions being made around here.
Now, what would
Oh.
happen if, like, by, I don't know, this could happen because flu season starting by the first week of October, all schools are shut down.
Right.
What do you guys do then if schools have to shut down throughout the state?
That is going to depend on what the state determines we have to do as a martial arts school, as a business, right? So, for example,
Okay.
back in March, not only
Yep.
did the school shut down, but they shut all of us down. So we couldn't do anything at all, even if we wanted.
Right.
To.
Okay.
All right. So
Mhm.
that's going to be a big part of what we are allowed to do. With that said, it might just mean another a pivoting again and a modified version of a distance learning thing, where it's,
Camp.
instead of 5 days, we don't know yet. I mean, we don't know the details. And again, if they say all kids have to be home and they can't be together in a school environment, well, our hands are tied at that point.
Right. Okay. I just wasn't sure if we were going to do what like happened in March or it was.
Right. Yeah. That is really just, I think when it gets to that point, the decision is going to be out of our hands and the decision will have been made for us, I would anticipate.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I'd
That's a good
like
question.
to say that I think checking in is a really great idea because it is a constant moving target.
Yes.
So checking in to see what you're thinking, what new data you've gotten, sounds like a really good plan.
Yep. Absolutely.
Pastor Fusco, I'd like to float the idea that, maybe we do this briefly next Tuesday. I mean, if we get the Manchester and the Vernon piece of data,
Mhm.
that will be big. And, we can check in, and if it's a 10-minute thing, then it's a 10-minute thing. Or I just don't want to necessarily put it off 2 or 3 weeks.
That's fair enough. Would you guys all
Because-
be interested in doing it next week? In another week?
Agnieszka, I can see
I
your
would.
lips moving, but I can't hear you.
Yeah, okay, that's a thumbs up. Good. Okay. All right. So so I'll go ahead and I'll set that up in the calendar, and then I will set up the meeting in Zoom, and I will email you all the link for that. Okay. And we'll just do a follow-up. And again, hopefully we will have more data by that point. If Manchester and Vernon and everybody else gets it together and sends it out. Ms. Greco's nodding her head like, please.
One more thing that we have a after-school program manual now that we were sending out to all the parents that were enrolling this year. We kind of formalized a lot of stuff and we put it in the manual. I think Master Fusco is planning on emailing that to you guys. And Master Fusco, I would email it sooner than later.
Yes.
Whether they've formally enrolled or not, just give them some more data. And then we're also working on I guess basically a COVID manual, which will only be a couple of pages, but will outline, our safety protocols and what we plan on doing.
Yeah. Check your emails tomorrow. I'll be sending the manual out tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. If nobody has anything else, I guess we will call it a night, and we will plan on this again for next Tuesday, barring any hurricanes or locusts
Oh, my.
or plague of frogs. I don't know.
Is that a Master Sheridan? Is that a Master Sheridan in the house?
I'm Master Sheridan. All right.
It's
Thank
good
you,
to
everyone.
see everybody. I haven't seen you guys in a long time. It's good to see everybody.
You too.
Be well.
Have a great night, everyone.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very
Have
much.
a great night.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Master Fusco, stay for a sec.
Okay, sir.